What's up, everyone? Today I want to talk about one of my favorite things in the whole world, which is Fallout 3. Okay, now before I start, I want to say that there's always a battle between Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, which is the better RPG. Now, I'm not even gonna get into that. All right, I was about to. I was like, no, I'm not gonna get into that. That's not what this is about today. I don't want to say which one's the better RPG. I want to say which one is the better and the best post-apocalyptic game out there, which is Fallout 3. And I really want you guys to communicate with me on this one, because if you guys have a better one, I would love to hear it, because I'm a huge post-apocalyptic fan. And my favorite, Fallout 3 is what got me into post-apocalyptic everything. Once I played this game, I became a fanatic of just the post-apocalyptic genre, whether it was movies, books, and video games. That's all I became about. Didn't matter what the kind. My favorite kind was nuclear, post-apocalyptic wastelands and whatnot. But I fell in love with zombies, viruses, all that shit. And you can debate over which one's better game, Fallout New Vegas or Fallout 3, but I think there's no doubt that Fallout 3 was just a better post-apocalyptic game. I personally think the story is 10 times better too. I cannot get into the Fallout New Vegas story. I love Fallout New Vegas, but the story compared to this one just doesn't hit me right. And I think they did that on purpose, though, as far as how the story went. I don't think they wanted you to feel as much of a connection right off the bat as Fallout 3 did, because they wanted you to shape your own character. So they made you kind of more of a blank slate. There was no big story behind it. All you knew was that somebody shot you in your head and you are going out to kill them now. Fallout 3, it gave you this beautiful story to start off with, an incredible, you stay in the vault for maybe an hour, depending on if it's your first run through or not, you could stay in that vault for an hour before you even get to see the wasteland. And then, I don't even need to talk about this because it's such a famous scene, but once you leave that vault, just seeing everything right before your eyes is just insane. So here, this guy, I just picked a YouTube video to watch and kind of comment on and whatnot, but obviously the first place you normally go to is Megaton, which is that structure over there, and there's just something about this game that, just the feeling of this game, there was nothing really like it. Going into Megaton for the first time, seeing the city built from literal just debris and shit, it was just, they captured this world better than anybody could, and I will always love Bethesda for that. They got me into so many post-apocalyptic things. There's something about post-apocalypse scenarios that I just love. It's kind of that the everyday mundane life that we're all so used to. It's scrapped. It's all about survival, and it's about basic needs now. It's not about popularity or money or it's just about survival and trying to make it, and that's something I've always loved. And Fallout 3, really, it's just the atmosphere is right. Many people can make fun of the color scheme, and which you can also, I think everybody knows Fallout New Vegas' color scheme is way worse than Fallout 3. Fallout 3, while it does stick mainly to green and brown, Fallout New Vegas was pretty much just brown. Maybe a little light tints of orange here and there, kind of dark orange or something, but it was pretty much just brown. Fallout 3 was great because it also took place in Washington, D.C., which I used to live very close by, and I'd been there so many times that I could actually pick out things that were there, and that I was like, oh, I've been here before. This is awesome. So maybe that makes me a little bit biased, but New Vegas, I also just think, the Las Vegas center is kind of where most everything is, where you can explore and find stuff, and then that's about it. There's obviously stuff trickled throughout around the whole map, but there's really not that much going on around the map. Also, Fallout 3 does a great job of just coming across stuff that just will always blow my mind. Fallout New Vegas did it too, but Fallout 3 just, everywhere you went, there was some type of environmental storytelling. I really don't want to make this video too long, and I probably will stop pretty soon, honestly, because this game is so old that everything that needs to be said about it has been said. It's an incredible game, and everyone knows it. And honestly, it still holds up to this day. If you have Xbox Game Pass, play it on there. I wouldn't advise playing it on the PlayStation PS5 because you can only stream it and it just does not look good. On the Xbox Game Pass, it's backwards compatible and it still holds up, man. There's just... And you look at it's funny, you look at the map, and I look at the map nowadays, and I'm like, man, that's kind of small. And when I first started replaying it, I was like, I don't remember it feeling this small. And then it's because it doesn't, or at least looking this small. And because once you get out there, it feels huge. I mean, there's just so many parts of it, and so many awesome, incredible things. This was one of the first games that I truly felt fear in, too. I remember there's one mission where you're going to, I forgot where you're going, but you're in the metro, underneath in the tunnels, which I love that about Fallout 3. I feel like even Fallout 4 didn't really have too many, at least if at all. I'm trying to think I feel like there just wasn't that much, train stations or, the metros underneath the city. Kind of like how there is in Washington, D.C. I mean, I guess that it's just maybe they don't have anywhere it was based in Fallout 4. But in Washington, D.C. there are. And going in those tunnels and seeing the feral ghouls, not knowing what they are. At first, my first playthrough, I'll just never forget how shocked I was at some of the things that would come after me. And I hear a feral ghoul, and at first you don't know where it's coming from. You just hear that terrible growl that it releases, and then you start hearing little footsteps on the ground coming closer and closer and closer, and then you start hearing little bits of breathing, and they start coming closer and closer, and then you hear like a roar, and as soon as you hear that last growl, they're coming at you, they're hitting you, and there's like 5 or 6 at a time. And that shit would just freak me out. And then after you get past that, I remember it's a certain tunnel that you have to go through for a mission. You're on your way, and then you see something in the distance, and it's massive, it's big, and you're like, is this a good guy, is this a bad guy? You get closer, and you notice it's green, and kind of looks like the Hulk, and it's a freaking super mutant. And you're like, man, I've never seen this before. Like, should I even try attacking this thing? And then, you do, and it takes a lot, but... I mean, Fallout 3 was just incredible. I mean, every character, every cast that you come across is just you just fall in love with. You either fall in love with or you hate, and you're supposed to hate them. I mean, just everything about this game is just awesome. The side quest, just the most memorable side quest in the world. I'm a huge fan of The Witcher 3, and I will always love that game. And it almost beat Fallout 3 as far as my favorite role-playing games, until I realized if I think about the side quest, although they are incredible, there are very few that stick out the same way Fallout 3 does. Fallout 3, I could name almost every side quest that I've done. And then you get to the DLC, and the DLC is just incredible. The pit takes place in Pittsburgh, and it just turns into this like steel making town, and the Raiders have pretty much taken over, which is something I feel like is very realistic too. I feel like that's a really that was a really good idea for them to do, because naturally there will be certain places where Raiders have just taken over. Like, the good people have not won. This is Raiders territory, and if you come in here, you will be a slave to the Raiders. They just did such a good job at showing the despair of the world and the weird, quirky characters that would probably most likely come out from it. I really wish there were canon Fallout 3 books or Fallout 3 lore. And that's another thing. If anybody knows a book that is even slightly similar to Fallout and its lore, please let me know. Comment down below. I will read it and I will get it. It's a really... Books are really hard for me to read. I have a hard time sticking to it, but for some reason, if you put a post-apocalyptic or even apocalyptic book in front of me, I will finish it quicker than any other book. I love reading post-apocalyptic books. You know, it's kind of hard to explain exactly why this is such a good post-apocalyptic game, because you just have to experience it. You know, it does everything right, so perfectly right. You know, I loved Fallout 4 when it came out, until I realized kind of why everyone was complaining about it. I kind of realized, like, yeah, even the first playthrough, I wanted to love it because it was Fallout. I became obsessed with Fallout. I played this game more than any other game I've ever played. I just became so obsessed with it, and then it's like for years now nothing has come out to top Fallout 3, and it's killed me. You know, Fallout New Vegas came out, and you know, I wasn't into traditional RPGs at the time. I was very young, and I just wasn't into it, and it's a dangerous place I understand why people love Fallout New Vegas, and now I do love it. I just did a playthrough, and I really liked it. But it was missing that world that Fallout 3 makes, and the, you know, everything from the music to even if you turn off the music, it's a whole other game if you play without the music, because they don't use any other besides like little maybe string instruments, like a violin just kind of playing off like in the distance, just like one note. They don't use music besides the radio that you can turn on or off, and it makes it a whole different playthrough. And Fallout New Vegas is the same thing, but honestly I like Fallout 3's music more. I'm not too into the whole cowboy country music that they were playing. But also, I'll just never forget thinking, and it's supposed to be this way because this is what Las Vegas is like, so I get it, but I love, there's something about a big city, a post-apocalyptic big city, that just is mesmerizing to me. You know, I got into Fallout New Vegas, and all I could think was, first, it was a lot harder than Fallout 3 right off the bat, which I appreciate now, but at the time I didn't. And then I finished getting past the first town that you're in, and I'm walking out, and I'm just like, and this was in 2011 or 12 when it like first came out, and you know, so it's not like now, but I'm playing it, and I'm just like, man, like, where is everything? Like, this is literally barren. It's just sand and sand and more sand. And to this day, you know, until you get to Las Vegas, it's a pretty boring trip in my opinion, you know. There's definitely some spots along the way that you can stop at that have some interesting tales, but there's just nothing like Fallout 3, you know, where it's like every turn is just a new building you can go into, or a new, you know, and then if there's not something that was purposely set up for you, then it also has random encounters that you come across where it's like, you know, dogs fighting raiders, or raiders fighting super mutants, or, you know, or them seeing you and just coming up on you, you know. But it's not too much either. They did a really good job, because like games like Far Cry or Assassin's Creed, it's like, man, I can't go 2 steps without having to fucking attack somebody. There are moments where I'll almost be like, man, is something gonna pop out in a second? Like, I've been walking for a good minute now and nothing's attacked me. I'm just chilling. And I think Fallout's always been pretty good about that, actually. But yeah, you know, there's never been another Fallout game to capture it. Fallout 4, I just remember playing through that first playthrough, and the whole time I kept thinking, something's off here, something's off here. By the time I wouldn't admit it, because Fallout is the love of my life. And I got to the end, and I was just like, man, there's just, I think it actually took me a pretty long time to beat that game, because I think I ended up getting kind of bored. And I mean, it has an incredible city. I love the city that it's in. It's not about the city. It's really the storytelling and the quest, and how it is a very, like the normal complaints about it, it's a very typical open world shooter, kind of loot and shoot, or shoot and loot, I guess. There's environmental storytelling, but there's very few places you can go into that you're just like, man, I want to invest my time in here because there's some incredible story that needs to be told, and I want to hear it, or I want to watch it. So where Fallout 3, it was like every place you went to, it was like, oh man, like, there's this one town that you go to, everybody probably knows about this town. It's just a little town, and for some reason, they're really weird. Like, the family, there's only like 3 houses being taken up in this little kind of cul-de-sac. And you get in there, and the family's really weird. They're kind of all acting like it's not an apocalyptic world. They're kind of all acting like it's back in like the 50s, and there's a trophy wife, and she's acting like, oh, I have to make my dinner for the husband and the kid, and the husband's like, we won for the 10th year in a row, best looking house on the block or something, and your character's like, what do you mean? Nobody's doing that shit anymore. Like, do you guys not know that the bombs have dropped like fucking I forgot the timeline, like hundreds of years ago, and they just kind of blow you off. They're just kind of like, whatever, and then you come and that can be it if you want. Like, if you want to leave and be just like, all right, those people are weird, but something tells you, at least something told me, is like, man, something's going on here. I want to find out what's going on. So then you go into the other houses, and the grandfather's there, and you can talk to him for a bit. And if you talk to him and the kids for a bit, you start to learn, like, they start dropping little hints about something's really off here. And then it turns out that if you can pick a lock to get into their basement, it turns out that they were cannibals the whole time, and they pretty much eat people that come by. If you didn't want to spend time there and learn that, then you didn't have to. But, that's the thing. Like, Fallout 3 did such a good job at just instantly pulling you in, just being like, without even trying almost. Like, they weren't overly flamboyant about it. It was just like, they were really good at picking your, like, inner, like, thoughts. Like, if I were to come across this in real life, I'd be like, something's really weird here. I need to investigate. So they kind of had that intuition of like, okay, if we just drop these little hints here and there, people will want to pick up on that. And they did that. And Fallout 4, they made it way more flamboyant and being like, hey, like, come check this out, come check this out. And then the story wouldn't end up being that good anyway. So it was just kind of, they had their moments where they knew, like, okay, we have to put something really cool here. And then on this side, we'll put something, in this little neighborhood, we'll put something really cool here. And then we'll put, they very sprinkled it, and they knew when it was good, and they really wanted to show you, like, hey, guys, check this out. I think they could do a lot better, and that's why I'm really excited for Starfield. Starfield, I think, I forgot the head guy's name at Bethesda. I don't know why. I know his name by heart pretty much, but it's not coming to my brain. But I think he's kind of got a little bit more passion back. You could tell everybody working at Bethesda were so passionate about Fallout 3, and that's why it was such a good game. They were fans of the game, and I think they're fans of Starfield, of the idea that they have in their head. But anyways, this has kind of become way more about so much more stuff rather than just Fallout 3. But yes, so I would really love... Oh, and let me say one more thing. Fallout 76 was another game that obviously I tried to love. I wanted to so badly. I did not know what I was getting into. All I knew, I was like, hey, it's another Fallout game. Sure, it's online, but it's made by Bethesda. Like, it has to be good. Like, even if there's some things that I don't like no NPCs, like, there has to be great stories and great fun to be had. And obviously I was wrong. I will say Fallout New Vegas, or 76, had its moments, especially playing like with my brother, or just other people in general. Like, you'll come across things procedural generated type stuff that which is something that Bethesda is really good at, and that's why I'm actually, the whole procedural generation thing with Starfield doesn't worry me, because like I think I've already mentioned this in another video, but Fallout 76 had some of the best random encounters I've ever seen that just blew me away. But of course it didn't even scratch my itch for a Fallout game. And nothing has ever since Fallout 3. Nothing has scratched my itch since Fallout 3. I think there's many people like that who really just for you know, over 10 years now found this beautiful game and with so much heart and so much put into it. And since then, nothing has come out that has come close. I guess the closest game that really hasn't even, it's scratching a certain itch towards Fallout 3, but not the right kind, is Wasteland 3, which I know is the original creators of the Fallout brand. That's probably why it's scratching that itch. But I'm not too big of a, you know, a top-down type games, top-down shooters. But Wasteland 3 is definitely one game that I can get into. I still haven't beat it, honestly. But I do love it. I love the story. I love the quirkiness of it, the funny, you know. That's the thing that Fallout 3 did really good, too, was the dark humor. Obviously, that was something they did perfectly. But yeah, I think Fallout 3 so far is not just the best post-apocalyptic game, but the best post-apocalyptic scenario, story, just product that I've ever seen. And that's why I got my hopes up for the show. I really hope the show is amazing, because I've been waiting for a show like that. I feel like it's a no-brainer. I feel like not necessarily a Fallout 3 or a Fallout show, but a post-apocalyptic show like Fallout. You know, it just makes sense, you know, just like how Walking Dead has, you know, completely taken over. It just makes sense, you know. People love post-apocalyptic stuff, and you know, it just makes sense to make this show. And so yeah, if any of you guys, please comment below if you guys have a better video game. I would love to hear it. I really don't think there is one out there right now, because I played a lot of video games, even not so good, like, you know, kind of the stuff that you gotta search for to find. I don't have a PC, a video game PC, so, and trust me, I know that puts me at a disadvantage. I've never had one. I've always wanted one. But if you guys have an Xbox or a PlayStation post-apocalyptic game that you think scratches that itch, please let me. Something slightly more modern or a remake of that. I played Metro. I played pretty much, before you just start tossing out games, I played pretty much every post-apocalyptic popular game. So, you know, but still, I don't mind if you throw something out there. But also, if you guys got any books, movies, preferably books. I'm really into, been having a hard time watching movies lately, and shows altogether. I haven't been watching much lately. So if you guys got any books, video games, but again, I will take movies, please let me know in the comments down below, because I'm dying. I've been like, God, I'm reading a book right now that has nothing to do with nuclear post-apocalypse, but it's kind of in, I think it's called Life as We Knew It. It's kind of a young adult book, honestly, and it's centered around like an angsty teen girl, so it's not, but again, it's post-apocalyptic, so I'm loving it. But please let me know in the comments down below. I would love that. I think that's about it for right now. Also, if you thought Fallout 3 was bad, I would love to hear that. I would love to hear some arguments why Fallout 3 was bad, because I've heard some people saying they don't like it. And, you know, I'm all up for discussion. I really am. So, yeah, just let me know. Please comment. I'm dying for something. Alright.